The topic we'll be discussing today is protein calorie malnutrition. Malnutrition includes both undernutrition as well as overnutrition. But over here we'll be discussing the undernutrition due to the deficiency of protein and calories in the diet. So the definition is it's defined as a pathological state due to the deficiency of protein and calories in a child less than 5 years old, that is when the child has not started going to school, the preschoolers. According to the cause, you're further going to define it into two, that is primary, when there is a deficiency of the food availability, and secondary, when the food is available but the child cannot utilize it. For instance, in conditions like celiac disease or the malabsorption syndromes, or the child is suffering from certain chronic conditions. Risk factors. This is of particular importance because one should be able to identify the risk factors in a particular child, because once identified you will be able to prevent it in the child once you have treated that child. For instance, we have got general risk factors and the child specific risk factors. Illiteracy and poverty, both of them are considered as universal risk factors. Unemployment would again result in poverty. Drug addiction, failure of lactation. According to WHO, a child should be exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months. Ignorance of weaning. Not knowing the things that should be given while weaning a child, the frequency with which it should be given, again leads to poor feeding of the child. Cultural norms, poor family planning. Having more than 2 children under 5 years of age would result in poor maternal health, and obviously the mother would not be able to take care of her children properly. Lack of primary health care, lack of vaccination would result in repeated infections and ultimately subsequently resulting in malnutrition. Repeated infection. For instance, if the child has got repeated infections of respiratory tract, GI tract, child has got measles, has had measles in the last 3 months, the child has got tuberculosis or has had tuberculosis, again would predispose a child to malnutrition. Congenital heart problems, congenital lung problems, cystic fibrosis, genetic problems, malabsorption syndrome. You're giving the child a diet but the child is not able to absorb it, like celiac disease, lactose intolerance, SPRU, metabolic disorders, galactosemia, phenylketonuria, lack of vaccination, again predisposing the child to repeated infections and ultimately the poor health of the child. Now, there are certain general terminologies pertaining to malnutrition. For instance, if the child has got low weight for age, then the child is considered underweight. If the child has got low weight for height, then the child is considered as wasted. And if the child has got low height for age, then the child is considered as stunted. How are you going to determine if the child is underweight, wasted or stunted? For this, we have got graphs in which, for instance, if we consider this condition, we will be having the age of the child on the x-axis and the weight of the child on the y-axis. And there will be certain lines already given. For instance, this is for the 50th centile, 90th centile and the 3rd centile. Now we'll be plotting the weight of the child according to the age, and then again let's see on which centile the child is actually falling. For instance, if the child is falling on the 50th centile, that's considered normal. By this way, you're gonna determine whether the child has got low weight for age, low height for age. These are the standard WHO charts that are given. Less than 2 years, then the length is taken. More than 2 years, the height is taken. Classification. This is of importance when classifying a child with PCM. For this, we'll be using different criteria. For instance, in the Gomez classification, we'll be taking the weight. In the Waterloo and the Wellcome classification, the presence or absence of edema, height is taken. For the Gomez classification, the weight of the child is given. For a particular age, there is an expected weight. If the weight is 75 to 90% of the expected weight, then the child is suffering from first degree malnutrition. If the weight of the child is 60 to 75% of the expected weight, then a child is suffering from second degree malnutrition. And if the weight of the child is less than 60% of the expected, then a child is suffering from third degree malnutrition. So the Gomez classification takes into account the weight of the child. Moving on to the Waterloo classification. This classification takes into account the weight for the age. This line is for the weight for the age, and this is for the height. One thing that needs to be remembered is that weight is usually affected in acute and chronic malnutrition, while the height is usually affected in chronic undernutrition. So, for instance, if we have got the weight for that particular age is less than 80 and the height is also less than 90, the child is suffering from chronic undernutrition. If the weight for the age is 80 to 120 and the height is less than 90, and the child is stunted but the child is not undernourished. For instance, if the weight is more than 120 or for the particular age and height is less than 90 for that age, then the child is stunted as well as obese because the weight is more than 120 for that age. Now, next, if the weight is less than 80 and the height is more than 90, the child is suffering from acute undernutrition because, as already discussed, we know that height is affected in chronic undernutrition and not in acute undernutrition. If the weight is between 80 to 120 and height is more than 90, the child is considered to be normal. And if the weight is more than 120 but the height is more than 90, the child is considered to be obese because the weight is more than 120. The Wellcome's classification considers the presence or absence of edema. For instance, if the weight for age is 80 to 60% and the edema is present, the child is considered to be suffering from Kwashiorkor. If the edema is absent and the child's weight for age is 80 to 60%, child has got ponderal retardation. The edema is present along with the weight is less than 60%. Child is suffering from marasmic Kwashiorkor. Over here, this is for marasmus. Marasmus would include the absence of edema as well as a child is severely underweight, that is less than 60%. Now, we have got 3 clinical syndromes pertaining to PCM. First of all, we have got Kwashiorkor, marasmus, and marasmic Kwashiorkor that has got features of both marasmus and Kwashiorkor. This is based on the Wellcome's classification that was previously discussed. Marasmus. Marasmus is 20 times more common than Kwashiorkor, and the cause for this is that is due to a diet that is severely deficient in calories that fails to meet the metabolic requirements of the growing child. Now, as for it, the calories that one consumes, first of all, it's used to maintain the blood glucose level, and the excessive calories is converted into subcutaneous fat. So over here, you can actually expect a deficiency of the subcutaneous fat and many problems that are actually attributed to the deficiency of the subcutaneous fat. This is a classical picture of a child with marasmus. The child has got a shrivel face. The child has got gross deficiency of subcutaneous fat, that is buccal pad of fat, the gluteal pad of fat. The child has got protuberant abdomen, that is due to hypotonic muscles. This is known as baggy pant appearance. Since we know that the fat is used to maintain the body temperature and the deficiency of fat would lead to subnormal temperature or hypothermia. In contrast to Kwashiorkor, since the protein in the diet would be more or less adequate, we don't expect edema and the skin and the hair changes to be present in marasmus. And when you offer the child food, the child has got a good appetite, the child is going to eat it ravenously. Now, Kwashiorkor is, in contrast to marasmus, is less common, and the cause over here is a gross deficiency of proteins. However, the supply of calories may be adequate or a little less. We know the proteins that we take is used in the synthesis of plasma protein, and that plasma protein maintains the oncotic pressure. When that oncotic pressure is not there, the fluid would translate from the plasma into the interstitial space, that is the third spacing is present over here, and that is why we have got generalized spitting edema in a child with Kwashiorkor. The general appearing child would be apathetic, irritable, and if you offer the child food, the child has got a reduced appetite. Remember one thing, that a child with a Kwashiorkor is more ill than the child looks because these child are particularly prone to develop sudden cardiac arrest. So you need to treat the child ASAP. And one more thing, that the presence of edema is classified under the heading of severe malnutrition. So this needs to be treated as an emergency. The edema needs to be treated as an emergency. The child is prone to develop sudden cardiac arrest due to membrane instability present as a result of the sodium-potassium ATPase pump. Now, due to the presence of protein deficiency in a child, the hair would be coarse, fine, and discolored. Due to the atrophy of the hair follicle, the flag sign is present. That is, you can actually have a clear line of demarcation between brown and black hair. That is again due to the deficiency of proteins. The child has got flaky pain dermatitis or crazy pavement dermatitis, that is hypo and hyperpigmented patches present all over the body, that is attributed to zinc deficiency. Child has got enlarged liver, that is due to fat deposition in the liver, the fatty liver. Now we'll be grading the rash over here. Grade 1, if the child has got hypo and hyperpigmented lesions scattered all over the body. Grade 2 would be if the hypo and hyperpigmented lesions are present all over the body, plus they are expanding with scaling and fissuring present over there. And if there's blood oozing from these hypo or hyperpigmented lesions, that child is suffering from grade 3 rash, and that is considered as the most severe one. Now we'll be having a difference between marasmus and Kwashiorkor. The child in marasmus is severely underweight. As for Kwashiorkor, the child is underweight but due to the presence of edema, but over here the child in Kwashiorkor is more severely ill. The child has got monkey faces, we have got puffy moon faced, there is no edema, there is generalized pitting edema, no skin and hair changes, skin and the hair changes are present. The child has got a good appetite over here, child is irritable with a poor appetite, and there is a loss of the subcutaneous fat. Some subcutaneous fat might be present. This is of particular importance. One should be able to examine a child with PCM, a head to toe examination. First of all, just look at the general appearance of the child, whether the child is monkey faced or puffy moon faced, child has got edema or not, how is the appetite, offer the child some food, whether the child is able to take it or not, behavior, is the child alert or irritable. Now starting from the hair, look at the child, just pluck the hair, whether they are easily pluckable or not. Child, look at the color of the hair, the coarse, sparse, the texture, the color, flag sign is present or not. Coming to the head, look at craniotapes. Delayed closure of fontanelles. The anterior fontanelle usually closes at around 18 months and the posterior usually closes at around 3 months. Look at the skin, general skin, dermatitis is present or not, the crazy pavement dermatitis, xerosis, that is usually present in vitamin A deficiency, skin is hanging in folds due to subcutaneous fat loss, pellar is present due to anemia. Look at the eyes, signs of vitamin A deficiency. And what are the signs of vitamin A deficiency? There are bitot spots, corneal and conjunctival xerosis, keratomalacia. There might be a pale conjunctiva due to anemia. Look at the oral cavity, look at the general condition of the oral cavity, whether it's got poor dentition with cavities. Chelosis and glossitis are classically present in vitamin B deficiency. Look at the nails, leukonychia is present in protein deficiency. Brittle nails, koilonychia, classically present in iron deficiency, usually in the advanced stages. Subcutaneous fat loss, there would be marked muscle wasting, protuberant abdomen might be there due to hypotonic muscles. Look at the signs of the vitamin D deficiency. For instance, you can actually have craniotapes, delayed closure of fontanelles, rachitic rosy. They are basically bead-like spots, bead-like growth at the costochondral junction. Boat legs, if it's present after 1 year, it's considered as pathological. Pigeon chest and pitting, generalized pitting edema might be there. Investigations. Now first of all, we'll be having the general investigations like get a blood glucose done, as you can expect a child who's poorly fed to have blood glucose level, and you need to treat this as an emergency as soon as possible. CBC. Now what are the things that need to be looked in a CBC? The child might have low hemoglobin levels due to iron deficiency anemia, and that can be due to some sort of parasitic infestations. Also, the child might have WBC levels that are high, that can be due to an infection right there, present there in the body. Secondly, get a screen for an infection done as SAP. You can get a urine DR done, blood cultures, malarial parasite, microscopic examination of feces for looking out for parasites, looking for occult blood in there, chest x-ray to look out for some sort of respiratory infection, and tuberculin skin test, as the presence of tuberculosis can also be one of the causative factors for malnourishment. Electrolytes, you can expect low potassium in a child with PCM and high sodium. because it is said that the erythrocytes in a child with PCM, over there they have got hyper functioning sodium potassium ATPase. So what's going to happen is they'll be pumping many sodium outside and retaining the potassium inside. So that would ultimately contribute to low potassium and more sodium. Also, the presence of more sodium in the plasma would actually contribute to the development of edema. Hypernatremia would result in edema. So that will further result in edema. Management. First of all, we need to identify a child, whether the child is suffering from mild to moderate PCM or the child is suffering from severe PCM. For instance, if the child is suffering from moderate PCM according to the classification that was already described before, what we are going to do is we are going to add two extra meals to the diet of the child. Once that moderate converts into mild, we will be adding one extra diet to the child's diet. So, dietary therapy with breastfed milk for infants up to 6 months and appropriate weaning foods that has got good nutritional value, along with supplementation of necessary vitamins, vitamin A and D specifically. Severe PCM. For the severe PCM, we will be having 3 phases. That is the initial treatment. First of all, we have the stabilization phase that takes about 1 to 2 days, in which we correct the emergencies like hypoglycemia, hypothermia. Second one is the rehabilitation phase that takes about 3 to 7 days, and the follow-up or the catch-up phase that takes the longest period, in which the child is going to catch up their weight and their height according to the age. Management. So as talked earlier, first of all, determine the severity of malnourishment, whether the child needs to be treated as an inpatient or outpatient. For the mild and moderate, we will be having outpatient treatment, and for the severe, we will be having the inpatient treatment. Initial treatment: treat and prevent the hypoglycemia. If the child's blood glucose level is less than 54 milligrams per deciliter, give the child 50 ml of 100% glucose orally or via an NG tube. And prevent the hypoglycemia by feeding the child every 2 to 3 hours, so that the child does not develop hypoglycemia. For instance, if the child's rectal temperature is less than 35.5 degrees centigrade, or the child's underarm temperature is less than 35, the child is suffering from hypothermia, and you need to warm the child ASAP. And while warming the child, measure the temperature every 30 minutes so that the child does not develop hypothermia. Children with hypo and hypoglycemia should also be treated for systemic infections. Treat and prevent the dehydration. Over here, the dehydration is usually corrected with Resimol solution. This Resimol is actually having high potassium and low sodium, and this is the solution that is usually given for the correction of dehydration in a child with PCM. And this dehydration process is usually completed over 10 to 12 hour period and not abruptly. So the rate with which they are given is 5 ml per kg every 30 minutes for the first 2 hours, and then 5 to 10 ml per kg every hour for the next 8 hours. So it's completed over a period of 8 to 10 hours actually. Now the infections. So broad spectrum antibiotic coverage, we have got ampicillin to cover the gram positive organisms, gentamicin for gram negative. For 7 days is usually given if there is complication present. If there is no complication present, then cotrimoxazole is given for 5 days. Now, the main thing is we need to start feeding the child. So we have got certain formulas. We have got F75 and we have got F100. For the initial period, we have got F75 that provides 75 kilocalories per 100 ml, and the protein coverage that over here is a little bit less as compared to the F100, because over here we need to nourish the child, we need to give extra calories to the child in contrast to the protein. So the protein coverage is 1 to 1.5 grams per kg per day. And then when we have the catch-up growth, so we will be using the F100 that is providing more proteins in contrast to the F75 that is 4 to 6 grams per kg per day. Next, treat any complication developing as a result of PCM, anemia, vitamin A deficiency. Anemia, usually you can go with blood transfusions over here. And remember, iron is usually not given during the acute phase. It's usually given during the rehabilitation phase, because giving the iron might worsen the infection in a child, because iron is obviously a source of nutrition for the microorganisms. Vitamin A deficiency, This will be discussed later on. Vitamin A deficiency less than 6 months, usually you give 50,000 international units. More than 6 months, it's given 1 lakh international. And again, if the child is more than 1 year, then 2 lakh international units is given. And if there are signs of vitamin A deficiency, then the dose needs to be repeated on the second day and the day 14th. Management. We have got the rehabilitation phase that we said takes about 3 to 7 days, and it's usually started when the child's appetite has returned. So over here we'll be having nutritional rehabilitation, in which we'll be giving the child the F100 formula, and psychosocial rehabilitation, in which we need to ensure that the mother has full understanding of the child's nutrition and she is giving the child the proper diet for his or her age. Next, follow-up is of particular importance because there is a risk of relapse after the discharge, and you need to follow the child after 1 week, then we have got 2 weeks, then 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. After 6 months, visits should be twice early until the child is at least 3 years old. So now this concludes our discussion of protein calorie malnutrition.